Hey, this is Math 7, Unit 5, Lesson 5, representing subtraction. Alright, the first two are part of your kind of cool down activities for today's lesson. So they want you to see whether expressions have the same value as this right there. So I won't do this one here, but let's do a similar one. Let's say that we had a negative 9 minus 3. Okay, we could rewrite this a few different ways because I can turn a subtraction problem into something like adding a negative problem, and that works out exactly the same because that's just how that works. Okay, over here I could do a similar thing. If I had negative 9 and I subtracted from it a negative 3, when I have subtract a negative number, I can rewrite that as adding a positive number is how that's going to work out. Okay, so I can rewrite it that direction there if I chose to. So you can use those little hints there to help you look at numbers 1 and 2. Moving down to section 3, this is write a subtraction equation as a related addition equation. So we're just going to rewrite this. I don't believe you have to solve it, but I could be wrong. So let's do a few of them here. So we're going to say that x is going to be x plus negative 67 equals 55. So we turn that minus 67 into add a negative. Over here, when I have subtract a negative, that simply becomes just adding 19 equals 33. Okay, and we can look over here and do this one as well real quick. You might think with a decimal, maybe it's a little messy. It's the same. It becomes p, and we're going to add it to negative 12.1. is still equal to negative 15.8. So basically that's the same thing we did in the first problem right there. You can see B and E are the same setup, and these other ones are all exactly the same setup there as well. Okay, so that's it for that one there. We're not even solving as far as I know. Alright, number 4. Write another sum of two numbers that equals 0. So I'll give you one. Probably best to not use mine on your homework. I could say 8 plus a negative 8 equals 0, and that's going to be true. So it's the same numbers, but they're the opposites, right? Now the next one says write a sum of three numbers equals 0, but none of the opposites. So I just thought about, it's just a simple number. I can take 6, and I know that if I add to 6 a negative 4 as well as a negative 2, I know negative 4 and negative 2 combine to make a negative 6. So those would all equal out to 0. Again, think of two negative numbers that can become the opposite of one of the positive numbers. Or you can do two positive and one negative. Totally up to you. Alright, number 5. This is a review question as well. Looking at the constant proportionality. Constant proportionality, remember, is found by doing y over x. That's our constant proportionality. So when we look at tables, we have an x and we have a y. Over here we have an x and a y. And so in this case here, we can look at what is your y value over your x. In this case here, y over x. And you write that out as a y over x. Just put the numbers in and see what you come up with. Okay? Now your equation is then going to be equal to y equals whatever your k value is times x. So in this case here, for this first section, we know we have 16 over 1 is our constant proportionality. So I can write it as 16 over 1 or just 16, that's fine. Okay, which means I take x and multiply it by 16, and that gets me the y value there. So 4 times 16 equals 64. I could also do the opposite way and do this way and say let's multiply it by, in this case here, 1/16, and that becomes 13. And here I multiply by 16, and this becomes 320. So this becomes my values right there. As an equation, I would say y equals 16x. So to every value I have for x I put in here in this little equation, multiply by 16, I get the y value there. Do the same thing for this table right there, and that's what you'll do next. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and turn my page real quick, and then we're going to look at the back side, the next side here. So still going. It says Andre, get you in the picture there. is running a marathon. His data's timing is split times, the time that it takes him to complete a specific distance in running. He records whether Andre's time increases or decreases each mile from his last race. So this is his increase or decrease. Okay. Was the total increase or what is the total increase or decrease in the time recorded after the first 4 miles? So we're going to decide what is the increase or decrease after 4 miles. We can see that there's a plus 34 seconds, minus 13, minus 11, minus 12. So what we want to do is basically we're going to find the sum of all of this to figure out what is the total increase or decrease. Okay, so it's like doing plus 34 plus a negative 13 plus a negative 11 plus a negative 12. And then we want to figure that out to see what you come up with there. Again, simple way to do this, look at these things here, combine all those negative numbers up first, and then put those two together to see what your solution is going to be. You should come up with a negative answer. Number 7. A high school football team gained 3 yards on the first play. So let's write this out here. Here's our yard marker. We got 1, 2, 3. So they got 3 yards in the first play. Good job. And then they lost 2 yards in the second play. So we're going to go back 1, 2 to here. Not so good. And then lost another 4 yards. Oh no. We're going to go back more. So we have to go some more spaces here. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4 to right there. Negative 1, negative 2, negative 3. So what's the total number of yards gained or lost? So we started at 0. So in our case here, we would say that there is a total of negative, or we would say, well, because we're looking at total gained or lost, we would say 3 yards lost in total because we ended up right there. Bummer for the team. Okay, number 8. Write the letter of the expression into the correct category. What that means is take a look and see. We have 5 plus negative 5. Those become 0. Plus a negative 14 equals negative 14. So this expression has a negative value. We would say A. It goes right there. That's all we're doing. Okay, we could look at B and say here is 11 and 7 make 18. And we have 18 and a minus 13. It's going to give me definitely a positive number there. So B would go here. For C, we could say we have a 6 and a 12. That's a positive 18 and a negative 18. It's going to give me a 0 value. So we could put C right there. Do the same for D, E, and F. And put them in the right categories there by seeing whether it be negative, 0, or positive. Okay, a couple more here to wrap up. Again, not going to do them all, just a couple. We have 2 negatives, so the signs are the same. When the signs are the same, we find the sum, and we're going to keep the sign the same. So we're going to add them together, and we know the answer is going to be negative because the signs are the same. So we have 7 and 4, negative 47. Looking down at letter E, we have some fractions. It's easier to add fractions if I'm dealing with the same denominator. So 1/2, if I multiply this by 3 over 3, becomes 3 over 6. So we can cross that off and say it's plus 3 6. So we have 1 6 plus negative 2 6 plus 3. Okay, the denominator is going to stay the same all the way through. So we have 1 and 3 make 4. And 4 minus 2 makes 2. So we could write 2 6, or we could write that down and reduce it to a third if we chose to. Alright, and finally one more, let's do F. I'm going to first of all combine these because the signs are the same. I'm going to find the sum, and keep this sign the same, negative. So we have 4.7, but negative 4.7. So now I have negative 4.7 plus a positive 2.7. So when the signs are different, we find the difference. 4.7 minus 2.7 becomes 2. And I keep the one with a greater absolute value, that sign. So we're going to keep it as a negative 2.0. All right, and that's it. Hopefully that helps you out a little bit with your homework. Good luck on the rest, and we'll see you next time.